And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who come in late, we are now having a little cooking session right here on the scene, putting the pot on in here. And we like for you to join in with us and have a ball.
Okay, welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to be setting up the space where I house my personas. And then this is a direct replacement from the board I have in Trello. So I actually really do like the way that Trello lets you put the images up front. It makes it really nice to create a board that's more design friendly. This is something you couldn't do with other ticket systems like Jira or Asana or anything like that. So this was really useful, but now I want to move it into my Notion space. The other thing that I want to do is, like you see here, I have my personas, I have my scenarios. They're not connected in any way, so you just have to read the name to know that there's that connection between, these two things. So let's go ahead in Notion and create that experience. So I want to go ahead and create a gallery. I'm just going to delete this first entry. Okay, and the first persona is Celine. So Celine is our primary persona. So she's a mother, she's a lawyer, she's very busy, but she's also, discovered that her family has food allergies, and she's trying to learn how she can prepare for, serving that need. So that's why she's going to be a great resource for thinking about as we build out the site. So I'm just going to delete the created. We don't need that, and I've already got tags. So here I'm going to put primary. Oh yeah, primary and consumer. All right, lawyer. A little dyslexia there. Just ignore that. I'm going to go ahead and make this full width. I like my pages full width, and I wish that there was a place where I could just do this as the default and then make them small if I want them small, because that's usually the first thing I do is make it full width. And if you've been watching my videos, you've probably heard me complain about that a couple times already. All right, so I'm going to add her persona profile in here. Then I'm going to add the ability to download her her image. So this way, I want the zip version, so it's smaller. So this way, if someone has the need to create some kind of documentation, they have the ability to just grab, a picture of her to put that in. Okay, and then the other thing I'm going to do is I don't want this in here because I want her name to be straightforward. So let's put that here. Okay, I'm going to add her image here. And I'm also going to add her image as the cover. And if you're worried about space, you could actually optimize them. These are both very large pictures. They're, the 500 by 439. So they're being used, at the same size. All right, let's go back to our personas table. And this is where I want to come in, and you see how it's using her card as the cover, but I actually want the image as the cover. And then I want to show the tags as well. So let's go ahead and change that by coming to properties. And I'm going to change the card preview to the cover. And I'm going to show the tags. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add in now the rest of my persona. All right, so now I have all my personas in here. So just, a quick overview. I've got Erin, who's the hobby chef, and she actually wants to contribute to the website. So between the two of them, that actually covers the majority of our use cases. So we have the person who's creating the content and the person who is consuming the content. We have Eric, who is a secondary consumer. So a lot of his use case is similar to Celine, but the difference is that he's a student kind of off on his own for the first time in the world, and having to take care of his own needs away from his family. A lot of, as a student, he's going to be eating in the dorms, he's going to be eating out. So a lot of the information that he wants to get is, how can he work around his food allergies when he's not necessarily cooking, or what are quick, kitchenette type meals that he could be supplying, creating for himself. And then we have Amy, who is a daycare director, who is also a type of contributor here. And then last we have Ayan, who is the admin. So it used to be, a long time ago, I would not do personas for the administrators, but the more I work with CMSs and seeing kind of our team struggle to build a back-end interface that's really useful and conducive to being able to administrate the management system, I'm finding that having that role of admin as a user is really important. So, she's the one who's going to, first approve Erin and Amy as possible contributors, but then she's also moderating the content that goes along. And so we're going to have to make sure that we build an interface from her on the back end that will work with the needs that admins have to support the site. So hence, she is an important persona to consider. All right, so once I have my personas in place, and I guess this page is not full width, so let's do that. Usually our next step in our strategy is to go ahead and brainstorm out what are the needs that these users have on the site. And this is actually the starting point. Before we start designing and concepting and doing all that, we still want to say, like, what are they going to try to do here? And that's how we're going to know how to build the features of the site. So I'm just going to add this brainstorm list of scenarios. All right, so these are all of the things that we imagine the users are going to do and want to do in the site. And this is important to figure out because we're trying to figure out what are the feature sets we need to build, but then also, as we want to decide what are the priorities in getting these things built. So some things are just flat out, like we might have thought of it, it might have seemed like a great idea, but like for instance, as Amy orders in bulk, that use case is not going to be a tremendously large use case from the majority of our users. So we're going to save this for later on. This is not something we're going to worry about now. But then there's other things in here. We can actually prioritize, what's the most important features to build first so that we can get this out the door. And then, start going along the way of enhancing our product. So once we've got these, ideas shaped out, we're going to say, okay, well, the most important thing that we have are things like, we want to be able to do meal planning. We want to be able to, search for recipes, save recipes, etc. So that's where we're going to start our work. So I'm going to create a new table. And this is going to be our scenarios table. And actually, I think I want this to be a list view. Oh, not a list view, board view. All right. And then this is where we're going to connect this together. Actually, to make this easier, I'm going to put these things side by side. I found that it's hard to move a table into a column. It's actually easier if you put something else there and then move the table under that thing. And then you could put the thing back where it's supposed to be. Let's select these and stick them into, oops. Stick these into the column. All right, so the first one we're going to work with is this one, Celine plans her meal. And what I want to do here is I want to create a status. And my statuses are going to be, so I don't do not started. If you create a Kanban board, out of the gate, they usually give you this status of not started. But I find that I don't actually use that property at all. So if I had created this first as a Kanban board and not as a regular table, that would have been something in here. But not started to me is the same as having no status. So I just use no status for not started. So I'm going to do in process. I'm going to do outer space. So outer space is where we're going to put ideas that we're just like not ready to enact. It's outside the scope of what we're going to do for the immediate future, but maybe we don't want to lose track of those things. Okay, so, and this one actually we built out, so it's complete, and I'll show that in a minute. And then, so I'm going to make this relationship. And so the nice thing with having that little thumbnail image, you see it's going to follow us around. So anytime we use that table, it's going to have this here. Okay. And so here, if we roll over to complete, there it is. And let's just add in another one, just because there's 3 records here. So I'm going to go ahead and put 3 records. And the last one is that Amy orders in bulk. Okay, let's scoot this over a little bit so it has a little bit more space. Let's just do one more so I have something that's not started. Oops. And then I want to show on the card property that persona. I don't need to show status because the status is the column it's in. So I can show the personas that it's related to. And I want to move outer space to outside. And probably hide it because we don't need to keep track of it in outer space. We can always go and unhide and look at those later. Right now, these are the 3 statuses that are important: that we've not started, we're in process, and we've completed. And completing is important because once we've completed a scenario, that tells us we're ready to start building out our task around designing and developing the functionality that's related. Okay, so let's go back. I do have that because, like I said, this one was completed. So let's add. Okay, so this is the scenario. It tells us exactly the pages and the functionality that we need to create this pathway or the scenario. So we're going to need to have a home page. We're going to need a login. We're going to need to have the actual meal plan. We're going to need the shopping list, and she's going to need to take that shopping list to the store with her, so it's in mobile. I mean, the whole site's in mobile, but this is just showing you she might be switching context. She might have started this on the desktop and moved to mobile, but she might have done the whole thing in mobile. If she's changing out things that are in her meal, so she's going to need to search, she might look at the recipe and then add that recipe to her meal plan. And then, like again, I said, move things to her shopping list that she needs to buy. Now, usually when I do these scenarios, when we decide that we're going to work on it, there's some things that are going to be assigned as tasks to work on, or other things we're going to hold off. So the home page is something that we probably will not build with this scenario. The home page is going to come up a lot, so there is going to be a whole effort around the home page. Login is also a thing that we're probably not going to build with this because we want to plan out that whole authentication system, and that's a scenario in itself. But what we would want to build here is, that meal plan and maybe the shopping list. So I might actually just write here the functionality that we're going to move into our user stories. Okay, and I might, the search is another one that I'd probably save for, another effort in its own. And so that creates these as they're going to be our epics that we're using to work with this scenario. And you can also think of the scenario as a theme. So that's how I intend to move my personas through the system. We've got them here that we can link to at any point. If I want to pull them in, I'm just going to do a quick demo. If I wanted to pull them a persona into a page without linking to their table, I can just call them in as a page by doing @ and then the name of that persona, and then they become linked that way, so that you don't have to put everything linked to the persona table, but you're still using those personas, at each opportunity. All right, so that's going to be it for the persona video. And I will see you next time for the next activity we're going to set up for our web project space. Take care.